Hi there, it's Martin here for Rock Fiend, and I'm in Bathgate at the Dreadnought, Scotland's longest running rock club, and I'm with Alan Russell, Operations Manager.
How are we doing?
Not too bad, sir. Thanks very much for your time this evening.
No worries.
Coming out on a school night.
Every night's a school night for me.
And a learning night as well. So we're here, 50th anniversary of Dreadnought.
I know, 50
so
years.
50 years, so from a half centurion to Dreadnought, welcome to the club.
Thank you.
So, back to 1972, where it all kicked off, and I believe it was at the Dreadnought Hotel. Up
Yep.
the road and round the corner, I believe, is that the...
That's exactly where it all happened.
Yeah.
And obviously there's various accounts from the depths of time and through the beer fog what kicked it all off, but essentially Studio 24 were in the Dreadnought at that time. Thought it'd be a great idea to start playing rock albums. There wasn't even singles back then. It was full albums,
Yeah.
so that's how it kind of morphed and developed. And then Douglas Magic Roundabout took it over, and the rest is history, as I would say. We kind of developed the rock disco developed over the years, through the decades, and we find ourselves 50 years on and still here, still doing it.
So going back, what was the music scene back, the club scene back, in general music terms, not just rock, but from Bathgate, West Lothian, I heard it was sort of quite, there's quite a few clubs.
Very vibrant. Obviously I can only comment from when I was drinking age, but there was at least 6 nightclubs in Bathgate. There was only one rock club, but you had various nightclubs operating, all doing their own wee thing, getting their own audience. So Bathgate was a real bustling for nighttime economy. And you add in the amount of bars that was there, it was just a place to be all the time. So it was great. It was great through the 80s into the 90s. That was it. There was just so much variety. Yeah. It was brilliant.
And what do you think's kept the longevity of the rock club? Because obviously there'll be a few clubs that have closed down over the years, where the rock club's always sustained and
we've kind of seen a lot of. I think it's just the formula. The guys behind the scenes, we've not chopped and changed things so drastically that people get fed up. It's just been an evolution through the eras, to the point that we find ourselves now that you're still playing 70s and 80s and 90s rock for the people that remembered it and still come. And it's even turned into a kind of family affair where there's fathers and sons and mums and daughters and things like that come together on the same night. So I think it's just been the general ethos and how we look after people. It's always been a safe, enjoyable place. There's still a lot of people think when you go to a rock bar that there's motorbikes tearing up and down inside and big hairy arse bikers terrorising, but it's just good normal people that enjoy a night out, and just that ethos has continued through the decades. A small evolution as we went, as opposed to radical direction. And the most important thing was the people that came.
People kept it going and keep coming back.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
We looked after them, they looked after us.
Good.
And that's still the same today as it was back then.
Fantastic. Now back then, was it a weekly thing, or was it a monthly?
Every weekend.
It was every weekend back then still.
Yeah,
so.
every Friday, Saturday.
And it's continued that.
Pretty much. We do try the odd school night, the odd Thursday and things like that, and Sunday, but the core nights has always been Friday and Saturday for the rock club, the nightclub side of things. With the occasional gig back in the olden days, that is obviously developed into what we are now.
And we are on the Hallow stage of the Dreadnought, so there we go. So we're at the new place now, but obviously the hotel, when it was going through the sort of changes there, you were told to sort of, we need to be selling up or vacating. How difficult was that to sort of, right, we need to get new premises, sort out
It was extremely difficult.
Yeah. Was it a case of potentially we could just, you know what, it's easy just to sort of knock on the head then?
It was nip and tuck for about a week. I mean, we tried our very best to liaise with. We didn't know how complicated the web was between Swallow Hotels and how they structured things, because they sold the building off and then rented it back again. It was really complicated, but we eventually found out who owned the building to try and lease it back. But again, the arrangements that they had in place it was just frightening, the amount of money that Carlsberg were involved and things like that. So we had to kind of hold our hands up and say, look, we just can't stay here. An opportunity did arise to move elsewhere, which we thought would be quite short term, and it was. And then we found ourselves here, and we've set up home, and that's where we intend to stay for forever and a day.
Years anyway.
Yeah, I know.
So that's been the biggest challenge. I mean, was it always a case you needed to remain in Bathgate, or was it sort of?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, we do get asked this. If this was in Edinburgh, or this was in Glasgow, it would be fantastic. But
it would be swallowed up before now, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't be the same.
No.
Wouldn't be the same. Yeah. I mean, it's Bathgate or bust, and that's probably going to be.
I like that, Bathgate or bust.
Bathgate or bust. Moving elsewhere, it just wouldn't travel.
No.
Again, the kind of reputation you've built up has always been here, and it doesn't hurt for anybody to jump on a train or a car to come here. Correct, as opposed to us going to them.
So we've been here roughly about sort of 12-15 years in this place. You've got the stage here, you're doing gigs pretty much week in, week out now.
Well, now, yeah.
Yeah. Do you recall the first band that you had on, either here or at the old place?
Well, round at the old hotels, I mean, the guys are probably in their 30s now, but the young pups back then used to play quite regular on our stage. One that the guys were in actually on Saturday night was Steel Septum.
Okay.
It was something that youth band getting their first gig, and they had it in the Dreadnought.
Right.
Don't know how good it was. I wasn't there that night. I can imagine it would be average at best, but they went up and knocked it out of the park, and we continued the regular-ish gigs round, but predominantly it was nightclub based at the old hotel.
Yeah.
With the odd gig, but live music was always part of things behind the scenes, and obviously it became more equal balanced, that we've got downstairs for the live gigs now, and upstairs for the nightclub, so that still continues. But it's just a good balance between the two, where it was just the odd night for live music on the same nightclub area, whereas we've got two levels to split it, which works really well. So
I'm going to put you on the spot though. Who's been your favourite band that you've booked and favourite gig that you've?
The one that and it's just been recently. I'm a big Queen fan, and we've been looking for years for I've been looking for years for a good Queen tribute, because obviously it's just one of those bands that have to be spot on, and it was 2nd April, the band called Flash, and the hairs on the back were up. I went, wow, and it was a perfect song. Close your eyes, it was Freddie singing it. It was absolutely magical. But to be honest, there's that many. There's that many. The biggest thing that we can hope for is people come, enjoy themselves, and when they're bouncing out there, we're happy because they're enjoying themselves.
Job done, isn't it?
And that's a job done. So it doesn't really matter what band, whether it's punk, rock, and we've started to enter into various other genres, so like ska and things like that, all go down a treat, and it's just infectious. If people are enjoying themselves, you can't help it, join in as well. So that's there's been a few memorable ones. I mean, obviously getting the likes of Dan Reid, some of the bigger names rolling through, Gunn, Danny Vaughan. The list is endless, and there was huge punk names came through, in the very early days that we're doing gigs as well, like say Brazil's, Anti-Nowhere League, they've all rolled through here, and they've all been fantastic nights, and they all stand out. Even the local band cutting their teeth for the first time stick out, especially when you see them move on to bigger and better things, and it's good to know that you were part of their journey. So.
Excellent, yeah. So from a gig point of view, the booking side of things, are you getting a lot more bands coming to you now to put on gigs, or are you still reaching out? It's still much a mixture of...
Still the same. We get a huge amount of emails, to the point that, and I apologise for this, we just can't reply to the amount of emails. I'll just up and down, all over the world are emailing. I've had a couple in for Australia this morning, because we've got an Australian band on later on in the year. They're reaching out to say that they're coming over, so it's great. I wish we could do more nights and accommodate them all, but it is what it is. We've only got a limited amount of nights that we're going to open and operate. But there are obviously bands that we would like to play, so we can chase them down, and if I'm not anything, I'm quite patient and persistent, and eventually we get our man.
I think you've got to be in this industry, haven't you?
Just bide your time. Eventually it will come. It will come.
So, as I mentioned, it is the 50th anniversary, so what have we got in store for the next few months or few weeks, and then into the rest of 22?
Well, it was always, I mean, even last year and even through a kind of lockdown period when we had time to sit and relax and try and plan ahead and hope that we would make to 2022, just try to suss out what we could do. I mean, our 40th anniversary, we had one night and it was just chaos. Start to finish, old faces, old bands, and you've kind of seen it and done that, so we needed to try and think about something else that would work for more people. And because we have so many genres playing, predominantly rock, but the two biggest eras, one that we started in, and then obviously the 80s was quite a big era for the club, because it moved forward quite a lot. We've got the 70s and 80s night, a kind of metal night, we're calling it, but again, it's the classics like Dio and Iron Maiden and what a lot of people term as classic rock now, but back then it was metal and rock. And I obviously tip our hat to the punk genre that I say we've had some massive bands roll through here, so we're having a punk night. So we decided, well, there's four nights, we'll group them together, and it'll save us taking the decorations down more than anything. So we can basically focus on 2 weeks, 4 nights, all in a winner, and allow people to come that maybe not make it on one night, they could make it another night. So, and that seems to be coming
and
through.
How do they get involved in that? Do they just go on site?
Just through the website. I've been a wee bit sneaky on that, because normally we run everything through social media really, really hard, and everybody will pick up on it. But there was a few teasers just put out, and it was all set up on the website, and then you just slowly see the floodgates opening, and people are talking to each other, and they're all on the website filling in. Again, it sounds bizarre, we're inviting people along, but you invite yourself. So we made the process as easy as possible, and then we send them tickets to come along. And it's proven successful. The 2 Saturdays are well oversubscribed, and the Fridays are getting there. Fridays have always been a wee bit slower off the mark for whatever reason, but they're getting there as well. So you're
happy that it's come to...
Just only been the last couple of weeks as a wee final push, to let people know, don't bother.
Because I guess we just talked before we came online about the COVID thing, and the folk are a little bit cautious about coming in. So going back to the COVID, for this industry, it has been an absolute kick in the backside, and no more for yourself as well.
Oh, it's been crippling. The early days, the uncertainty was the worst. The kind of March 2020, when you get told you have to close and stay closed until we tell you to open, and no other information. It took 2 or 3 weeks, and those were long weeks, knowing, well, okay, we can survive a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
maybe a month at most with no income. But after that, what do we do? And that was the rough period. But we kind of decided, if this is the end of the road, so be it. But we ain't going to give up.
Yeah.
And that kind of carried us through the next 18 months. I certainly wasn't giving up. We came this far. Loads of hurdles through the decades that we ain't giving up.
Yeah. And this wasn't going to beat you either.
We just got doing stuff that we normally wouldn't do, and plugging into resources that we never had to before. Yeah. And we just got in about it.
And do you feel at that time there's a lot of folk coming together, businesses coming together, helping out the community side of things and that as well?
Well, the Music Venue Trust was an integral part to a lot of the venues' survival. Yeah. Up and down the country. Certainly the smaller ones, medium size and large ones, were kind of looked after in other ways, but that, just hearing the same stories and plugging into the information, that's what kind of carried us through. And they were fighting our corner with government, and the kind of key thing that came out was the grassroots music venues were kind of always forgotten about. They were always there bringing through the artists, the big artists, but they were never regarded as anything to worry about. But that came to the fore. Even Creative Scotland getting involved eventually, and it was news to them that all this went on. This vibrant scene. So yeah, it certainly brought us together, and a lot of information shared, and it kept the amount of venues down that closed in the UK because of their efforts. So they were really integral to so many things, and obviously guiding us and still helping through the restart process now. But no, that was it was a tough period.
I can imagine it would be, yeah.
Open shut. Yeah. But we're still here.
And that's the main hoping thing. With seated, that's wasn't the best, but
we still did it.
You had to do, and
we did it.
Had to trial it and things like that. So yeah, so well done for obviously coming through that. And that's the same with any other music venue that's been hit with that. Because I mean, there is light now at the end of the tunnel, which we're hoping, folk are sort of dipping the toe into coming out. And
hope so. I hope so. That difficult phase is behind us now. We've still got a challenge. People have got a new way of entertaining themselves at the weekend. You always had some kind of competition. Other gigs were on somewhere, or other nights out now we're vying with even the man pubs out in the back garden and things. So we've still got a challenge on our hands, and we hope that the next wee while people will emerge from the houses, and that we're still here and we're still want to do it. Still want to do it.
Yeah, good. So before I wrap up, I've got being the 50th anniversary. There's some iconic albums, 50 years old this year as well. Deep Purple's Machine Head. We've got Schools Out from Alice Cooper. One of my favourites, Pile Driver from Status Quo, Thick as a Brick from Jethro Tull, and Volume 4 from Black Sabbath. So you're in good company.
Yeah, certainly are.
With these ones here. So and what else I did notice last night, just on the road in 1972 in Edinburgh, is where the Eurovision Song Contest was held. So there you go.
Certainly was
a bit of a curveball from that one, but Alan, look, thanks very much
for
your time.
Thank you.
Give the best to the staff, and here's to another 50 years.
Will do. Well, certainly at least another couple of decades, and then I can hang my hoodie up as well.
There we go.
But no, thank you, and thanks Rockfiend for always being there for us as well. Thanks guys.
Smashing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Cheers.